Good day and welcome to everyone joining us for today's webinar session. Technology-driven marketing strategy is the key to riding out the economic storm, featuring Sheenika Gandhi, Director of Marketing at Greenberg Glusker LLP, Los Angeles, California, and Meghan Frank, Global Marketing Director, LexisNexis Software Solutions in Raleigh. My name is Lauren Davis and I'm the Global Events Lead at LexisNexis. I'll be your host for today's session. If you are dialing in or calling from outside the US, please click calling from another country in your GoToWebinar email notification to view the US, UK, and Australia dial-in numbers. Today, our panel of experts will discuss how top legal marketing experts recovered from previous economic crises. They will also discuss how to apply these tactics for your firm, plus more tips, strategies, and statistics by top experts and how they've reached success again stronger than ever. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them via the questions pane located on your webinar control panel. During the last 15 minutes of the webinar, we will answer your questions. Please note that all attendees will receive an email with complimentary interaction resources for you and your firm. Also, there's a brief survey at the end of the webinar today that we ask for you to please take a moment to complete. At this time, I'll turn it over to Meghan. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren, and thank you all for joining us today, virtually anyway, for our session as part of the International Bar Association 2020. As Lauren mentioned, our goal really is to discuss the difficult choices that law firm marketers have to make to maintain client engagement, to deliver new business opportunities, all within the challenge of limited resources and the extraordinary circumstances presented by COVID. Our goal today is to discuss research that we've done, as well as provide real life examples and actionable insights that hopefully you can take back to your firm. So Lauren mentioned, I'm Meghan Frank. I'm the Global Marketing Director for LexisNexis Software Solutions, and I am thrilled to be joined by Sheenika Gandhi from Greenberg Glusker. Sheenika, do you want to introduce yourself and provide a little bit of your background?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Meghan and LexisNexis for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be here today at the IBA conference. So my name is Sheenika Gandhi. I'm the Director of Marketing at Greenberg Glusker. And Greenberg Glusker is a full service firm based out of Los Angeles, California. I've been in legal marketing for 9 years. Prior to my career in legal marketing, I actually graduated from law school from California Western, based in San Diego, and I maintained my license to practice in California. At Greenberg Glusker, I lead the firm's marketing, communications, and business development strategies, as well as the diversity, inclusion, and corporate social responsibility initiatives. I am an active volunteer in the Legal Marketing Association on both the local and national level. And currently I'm the incoming co-chair for LMA's Small Firm Shared Interest Group, as well as their 2021 Annual Conference Advisory Committee.
Great, thank you. So the kind of impetus for our session, as I mentioned earlier, COVID, right? It's an unprecedented time for everybody. It's really causing organizations to change the way they work, refocus on what's most important. And our research has shown that a vast majority of firms really believe the response to COVID is going to change the way they approach marketing and business development activities, even beyond the short-term changes to the long-term. But most partners actually aren't really sure what those changes might be and are unaware of what they're going to have to do differently. And that's just causing an increased dependency on marketing and business development teams overall. Marketers are really at the forefront of this change. And what we wanted to do was investigate how these teams not only need to pivot in the short term and change their tactics now, but how this might change their strategies in the long term and what actions they can take to set themselves up for success in the future. And when I think one of the first things that everyone had to do was rethink their entire budget and reprioritize activities. So Sheenika, do you want to walk us through how you've done that at Greenberg Glusker?
Yeah, so it was super interesting when COVID first hit. We all went back, we all went home, and priority number one, I get calls from my CFO, my managing partner. We are rethinking the entire firm's budget. I need you to rethink the entire marketing and business development budget. So I basically, we worked together with our team and I approached with using these 3 guidelines that are on your screen. First, we eliminated what was easy given the COVID restrictions. So activities such as traveling to conferences, client meals, any other in-person networking events and activities that were just easy to cross off right off the bat. And then next, we identified the critical spend. So this was really important because there were certain pieces of our marketing budget that we knew were critical for us to continue in the next how many ever months. At that time, we didn't know how long this was going to go on for, but we knew that we needed to communicate with our clients and we needed to put our name out there and stay relevant. So our technology budget did not change, and actually I think it even increased because it would become even more important to keep our digital efforts the same. So, and shifting to digital meant that we were sending out more email communications. We were using Interaction better, that's our CRM system, to help maintain our mailing list and make sure that our contact information was up to date. And then we were continuing to invest in our website to make sure that when people found us online, that they would be able to access the information easier. And we ended up actually having to pay quite a bit for our marketing automation platform, our email marketing, because we were sending out so many emails. I think people on this call could probably relate that in that first few months, I mean, the email volume was intense. So we knew that we had to keep those pieces intact. The other thing, we also kept our public relations budget the same because we really felt that it was important to get our brand name out there when we couldn't do that with our large scale events. So different conferences and things where we normally have our brand visible, we knew we had to replace that with something else. And so we really kept our PR budget the same to allow for us to allow our PR consultants to set up meeting interviews, even find us article placements, other virtual speaking engagements. And so that really helped a lot to keep our brand awareness the same. And then lastly, we had to rethink all of our events and sponsorships. I think that was the, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. It's the bulk of a lot of people's budgets, I think, and they were also harder to eliminate because we didn't want to disrupt long-standing relationships. And so we tried creative ways to still stay involved, including decreasing levels of sponsorship, so we can maintain that relationship and then provide a gesture of commitment without necessarily seeing the financial impact. And frankly, we also had to ask for some refunds because there were several canceled conferences and they, in a virtual format, couldn't provide the value that we were looking for. And eventually we just evaluated each of these events and sponsorships on a case-by-case basis. We still continue to do so. If an attorney wants to pursue a sponsorship, we have them answer a series of questions. And those questions range from, tell me about the benefits. Why is this event so important in light of the current circumstances? What is the ROI, return on investment? How many clients has this particular event organization brought you, or how many referral sources? And then even look at, how do you maximize their sponsorship after the event? Can you write an article? Can you have a post follow-up plan for all the new contacts that you're making? So we just wanted to make sure that the attorneys were committed and that we would dig our heels into these opportunities.
I like the almost making them do a business case. It's really interesting and in a unique way to make sure you're prioritizing the right things.
Exactly.
Let me switch the slide here. So we want to hear from you. You heard Sheenika talk about critical areas that she prioritized in her budget. So what areas would you consider critical spend? I think the poll is open, so I'll leave it open for a little bit to collect some responses.
I'm really looking forward to hearing what people are what they consider critical spend.
I know, me too. Because it's different for everybody, right? As they really prioritize what they're doing. All right. Lauren, I'll ask you, it looks like we have about half of everyone voting, so I'm just going to give it a little bit longer before we close it, but I can preview the results, and I don't think I'm shocked by any of it, that's for sure.
Yep, looks good. We're about 65%. Give it a couple seconds. Thank you, everyone participating.
All right. So we are sharing the poll results. Can everyone see the poll results? I'll have Lauren tell me because I unfortunately cannot see what you guys are seeing. But I'll just voice over them just in case. We got 35% said digital marketing was a critical area. 30% said content development and content marketing. 26% technology. And then the two kind of stragglers were 7% on events and 2% on public relations. So I think the technology piece really echoes what you said, Sheenika, that it became that much more important to keep some of those digital marketing efforts afloat. Digital marketing, obviously, in a virtual world becomes a huge priority. Really interesting to see content development and content marketing really rise to the top there. And I think, if I can opine on what you guys have answered, it's probably because that's what makes digital marketing efforts worthwhile. And that's what makes digital marketing efforts work, right? They're all powered by content. And so it becomes even more important to invest in creating really thoughtful and insightful content in those ways. Interesting though, Sheenika, that public relations didn't really rise to the top for everybody. So, you guys might just be different. But you guys talked about, you talked about public relations being important for brand awareness. So, is that something that you've seen results on?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is our attorneys they're just so motivated to try multiple things right now. And I think because reporters right now there's so much content to be writing on and so many world news events and new laws and new changes, they are consistently reaching out to our attorneys for commentary. And I think it's really important just to be in that forefront and be that expert. And it really just helps develop an attorney's brand to be talking about these things. So we really value PR and being able to comment on different news related important developments in the world.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Lauren. If you could close the poll. All right, bringing back up the slides here. Okay, so Sheenika really alluded to this, but we want to dive into events more specifically, and that's because they are really a lion's share of not only budget but effort of what law firm marketing teams really focus on traditionally. In 2019, about 14% of the overall marketing budget was spent on events. So it is a large gap that marketing teams have to fill, not only about thinking about reprioritizing that spend and redeploying that spend, but also the engagement and the business development opportunities that come from those events. Luckily, marketers do have a lot of digital and virtual options at their disposal. The 4 that you see on the screen are the ones that really rose to the top in our research. Webinars, goes without saying, really delivering content in a virtual way. Thank you for joining our webinar. Client alerts, Sheenika, you mentioned emails. It's really those ongoing touch points, mostly through email, to stay in front of your clients and stay top of mind. Personal engagement, using all the different channels available to have that more one-on-one engagement. And usually that, we've seen obviously phone calls and things, and Zoom, has become a huge thing. But, I think social media is another thing that's really risen to the top, and more attorneys are really trying out. And then virtual events, which goes a little bit beyond webinars and talks more about, creating that more event experience through a virtual platform. So with all of these opportunities and with all these options, it's really a great time to be innovative and try new ways to drive that client engagement. So think about a test and learn strategy. Try new tactics, measure the results, and then use that data to really inform what your next steps are. And I really want to turn it over to Sheenika. She has some great examples of things that her and her team have really tried and the results that you've seen.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. So what's really awesome is, in hindsight, while I was in the middle of everything earlier this year, it was really, overwhelming and stressful. But in hindsight, this year was actually a rush of excitement because we were able to try new marketing strategies, and coupled with the fact that the attorneys were really open to new ideas, and we were all just starting from a level playing field, and we just were, let's try what we can. So what's interesting is that the firm prior to COVID wasn't really a fan of webinars. They had enough opportunities to speak in person at various conferences or local bar associations, and so when we moved to this new world situation, we ended up doing about 4 to 5 webinars in the past 8 months, and we've received overall fantastic feedback. And specifically, the one that we're doing this Thursday, it's our employment law webinar, and we have over 450 registrants. And what's super interesting is that the firm has never done a webinar of this scale before, and so all of this is just a great opportunity for us to try out things and convert what we were doing normally in person. This employment webinar or law seminar was in person, and we were only able to invite 100 people just based on capacity in the hotel room. And so I think what's great is that now we can invite more people, and we have so many more people registered. And webinars are just a great way to engage clients. They, like you said, provide a valuable touch point. And what I really love is that you're able to create this funnel. And so if you're using different content distribution tools such as JD Supra, you can use the webinars as a way to meet new connections and use that as a funnel and really understand if your webinars are a really specific topic. If you have people signing up for it, that means that they're interested in that topic, and then it allows you to have a ability to follow up on that particular issue. In terms of client entertainment, we used to do a lot of sporting events, and I think it was really interesting not being able to do that. We actually were able to, in Los Angeles, we have this renowned playhouse called the Geffen Playhouse. And early on, the playhouse started offering virtual experiences, and they moved to these Zoom-based performances. And they had a magician and sort of this creator of immersive experiences. So we did a buyout of an otherwise sold-out event, and we invited 20 of our closest clients in our entertainment litigation practice group, and the clients were just blown away by the experience, and frankly they were just thankful that they were able to engage in something where it wasn't a typical happy hour or substantive webinar. It was just something that they could enjoy with their family as well. So I think that was a really good move on our part to still continue the entertainment but take advantage of the virtual offering. Otherwise, we also did, in terms of content marketing, so based off what we just learned in the poll, we actually took a chance with publishing a newsletter and a blog that wasn't focused on substantive legal issues. So we launched a newsletter called In Good Company. And basically this newsletter featured stories from our clients, friends of the firm, different nonprofit organizations, and it just showed all the ways that they were giving back in the community during COVID, and how they were pivoting their businesses, how they were meeting the needs of the community. And it really just allowed us to create a touch point with our clients, asking our clients, can we feature you? And then having our clients featured to the rest of our clients. And so it really created this goodwill that we were just trying to put out some positive news stories. Really, we were tired of the sort of the negative things that were happening, and so let's just put out some positivity. And now we're actually pivoting the newsletter to feature stories of doing good beyond COVID. I think there's a lot going on, and I think that it's a great way to continue just having a different spin on how law firms are engaging with their clients. And not all testing is successful, so I wanted to talk about how we, like all law firms, started a COVID task force. We brought together multiple attorneys from different practice groups. And in the first month, of course, we put out a lot of client alerts and information. We did webinars, but it's definitely slowed down since. And so I think when messaging is possibly too generic, or it was not necessarily maybe resonating, and really it was just a lot of content. I mean, I think our clients were inundated, and so we just slowed down, and we realized that wasn't our expertise. We didn't need to publish so much content to be useful to our clients. And so I think that was a good lesson learned for us in terms of we don't really have to, we tried it, it didn't work, it's okay, we move on.
Yeah, and that's the foundation of a test and learn strategy, right? Is that, not everything is going to be successful, and we really don't have a crystal ball to know what's going to work and what's not going to work, especially in a new environment like COVID. So test what you can, and if, to your point, if it doesn't work, lesson learned, move on. Just move to the next strategy. Okay, so before we go on to the kind of some more research that we did, I do want to get a pulse of everybody out there. How successful would you say that your business development activities are? Give everyone a minute to answer. And this is always interesting to get the split too of people who are responding. If they're marketing people or business development people or attorneys, everyone has a different view on how successful things are.
Yeah, I think it's just important to also pause and think about it. I think we are always in the day-to-day routine of trying to do marketing and BD, and sometimes we just need to stop and think, is what I'm doing successful, and do I need to pivot? And so this is a great question.
All right, so I think we're about 62% voted, so I'm going to give everyone just a few more seconds here, and I really appreciate everyone participating. It's always good to get a pulse check. All right, Lauren, do we want to close the poll, show the results? Okay, so most of you are saying that you're somewhat successful. So 66% are saying somewhat successful. And the next step up there is successful with 25%. So I'm going to kind of show you, if you can close the poll results, Lauren, I'll show you kind of what we found in our research. And it really aligns to what you guys are saying. Let me go back to this. Less than half of firms are saying that their business development efforts are successful, which really aligns with what you guys said. That is the successful and very successful buckets. So if we add those together with what you guys said, only 30% of you are in that camp. So you're in good company, and everyone's feeling the same thing. And when we dug a little bit deeper, the top challenge that people had was they were pursuing too many opportunities. And this is really significant when we look at some of the research we've done around how law firms have reacted to previous economic downturns. And a lot of those lessons really boil down to having a more targeted and segmented approach to the way they're doing marketing and business development. And so if you look at this challenge that already existed pre-COVID, was already there, and then what's happening now is just exacerbating that. And it really presents this unique and really big opportunity, I think, for marketing and business development leaders to rethink their overall strategy, now and in the future, and really start to use the data available to create highly segmented and targeted plans that are eventually going to drive better results and hopefully make a bigger impact on the business overall. So if we take that a level deeper, how do you actually do that? And there are 4 key areas that I want to talk through. And the first one is taking each opportunity individually and building a strategy that's going to help you win and improve your ROI overall. And Sheenika, I want you to talk through a specific example that you had around how you really implemented this in your business.
Yeah, what's interesting is I essentially took every event or sponsorship and we thought through every piece of it, and we tried to make sure that we were maximizing all of these opportunities. I think what you said earlier was right in that I think oftentimes we sign up for too many things, or we spread ourselves a little too thin, and it brought about an opportunity for us to really narrow down and then just go deeper and just figure out who do we know? If I'm sitting on a board and I have been on this board for multiple years, but I haven't really gotten any business out of it. Well, really looking as to why, and is it really worth your time to stay there? Can we pursue something else? And I think we did a lot of that this year. We spent a lot of time looking at what our attorneys were involved in. Can we get a speaking engagement out of this organization? Can we they have a newsletter that goes out every week. Can we put in an article there? I mean, we just try to find every which way to just maximize the organizations that we were involved in already. And so we didn't try to join new organizations. We knew that we had a great place in the community. We had great relationships, and we just doubled down on those relationships and made use of them.
Yeah, just go that level deeper and kind of look at each one as its own opportunity versus a blanket. These are the organizations that we participate in, and this is what we do with them. Yeah, that's really interesting. The other three I'm going to kind of walk through as a bucket because they're all, different flavors of the same thing, which is looking at your data and allowing it to guide you depending on the trends that you're seeing. So the first is in practice areas. Looking at the trends about practice areas, are there more opportunities coming in certain ones? Are they growing? Are they shrinking? And really seeing how that can help you pivot and refocus your efforts and maybe potentially change your messaging, as Sheenika mentioned around the COVID task force. Change your messaging, change how you promote something. The second is around industries, and that again, look at opportunities that you've won, look at penetration you have within certain industries, look at the opportunities coming in. Are there industries that are actually ripe for growth? And if you put more focus area there, could you potentially have more impact versus industries that might be shrinking or struggling in this environment? And the third is on a micro level, and that's the client. So look at individual clients and see who you might be able to grow with. So there could be, because they are in certain industries that are growing, they're ripe for growth. It could also be that they're going to consolidate the number of firms that they're using due to economic hardship, and you have a potential to win more business with them. So look at the relationship strength you have, look at the activities you've done with them lately, the engagement they've had in your marketing activities, the variety of work you've done with them, and identify that list of clients that you really want to focus on, and then go back to number one, which was build a strategy for each one individually. Now, the reason I talked about those three at the same is because I think Sheenika has a very interesting example of how the data led them in a very unexpected way to create a new strategy during COVID.
Yeah, so we have a really large real estate practice at our firm, and we had expected the real estate market to not do so well, and we thought they would be really slow. And what ended up interestingly happening is that they were still closing deals. And so we started looking into, okay, which clients were we closing deals for? And then we also started looking at some of the market research. And I was reading all of these articles about how industrial was just huge right now. I mean, all of these, warehouses were in high demand due to all of the e-commerce needs that were happening. And so after reading some of those articles, realizing that one of our top rainmakers at the firm, he's in our real estate practice group, has a huge industrial practice, and he was the one closing all these deals. And we can see that in every month, all the origination reports and all of the matters that were coming through. And so when you put two and two together, you start to see a strategy to develop, and you're like, okay, now it's time to focus on industrial. I mean, real estate is such a huge industry, and so I needed to get something specific to then be able to do something about it. And so we used the ability that data to say, okay, let's get media opportunities. So we got our PR person to line up media interviews with our attorney who was doing a lot of this industrial work, to give his insights into trends he was seeing, what the issues that he was dealing with his clients, the deal points that were important when he was closing these deals. Article placement, so we've had him place at least 2 or 3 articles in various real estate industry publications, and webinars. We got him to do 2 webinars, one with the Los Angeles Business Journal, another with Weston Real Estate, and he received a lot of emails after from clients saying that was a fantastic webinar, let's get on a call. I mean, these types of things are just so important and all of those opportunities would have not happened if we weren't looking at what was happening in the origination reports, all the matters, looking at your financial data, and then also looking at market research, and then being able to pin all these together and put it into a marketing strategy. And I think that's how the data really came together for us.
That's really interesting. And how did it affect the way that you kind of approach real estate as a whole? Because you said it's a giant industry, obviously, so there's probably multiple different segments that you have to treat differently.
Yeah, exactly. So our attorneys have developed certain expertise in those various areas. So whether it's retail or industry or industrial, just general commercial real estate, I think office, and I think it was just really interesting to see who was busy and who wasn't busy. And so that's really what helped our strategy, and just pinpointing all of those different areas that were important, and then putting segmentation around those particular industries, and then on top of that placing the marketing strategy. It really just helped us be more thoughtful about what we were doing, and then also trying to think of cross marketing. So I think real estate, we have a lot of real estate clients who also use other practice areas at our firm. So looking at how could we pair maybe the real estate and the bankruptcy group together. And so we actually have an upcoming town hall with the Industrial Real Estate Association, we're putting together our top, one of our top real estate attorneys with our bankruptcy attorney, and they're doing a town hall on those topics. And so, just having this more thoughtful approach, and you might have a really big industry, but how do you break it down either by sub industry, or how can you pair that with other practice groups at your firm?
Yeah, really interesting. So to kind of close this all out, we talked a lot about data and insights and how that's all foundational to everything that we discussed today, right? And it's the foundation to driving the strategic approach to firm growth. We know that a lot of firms are still struggling with that, though. And so how do you really start implementing a more targeted, segmented approach to marketing and business development? Is starting by investing in the right tools, the right technology, and processes that are going to help you capture, manage, and gain insights from all of the valuable information that you already have across your firm. I think Sheenika mentioned just expertise is one area, client data is another area, signing up for webinars is a whole nother trove of information about what topics people might be interested in. So how do you start pulling out those insights? And Sheenika, you're in this every day and you are really living this on a daily basis. So how have you approached creating this sort of strategic business development and marketing program, and how has technology really played a foundational role out there?
Yeah, so I think technology has just allowed us to create a strategy much faster, right? What has happened specifically, I think interaction in this is not no one paid me to say this, but I think interaction has been such a foundational tool because of the fact that we have this CRM system that holds all of this data on all of our clients, our referral sources, and being able to, make sure that that data is clean and updated, and then another layer of having it connect to our email marketing system so we can see who's reading our emails, who's connecting, maybe somebody unsubscribed, maybe we need to find out why. And all of those data points are so important into then informing what do we do next. And so I think what's been really helpful is we've done a few things at the firm in terms of making technology foundational to everything that we do. So whether it's in my one-on-one coaching, so I coach a lot of our attorneys on just everything related to their marketing and business development plans. And I always tie it back to, let's get into interaction. Let's look at your contacts. Let's see who you haven't spoke to in a while. Hey, I noticed this contact isn't receiving client alerts? Is that intentional, right? Let's make sure that they're receiving the right types of communications from us. And we really we create working lists. And if you're an interaction user, a working list is essentially your own personal list to segment your contact list. So maybe your contact list has 2,000-3,000 people, really hard to do segmentation. Working list allows us to say, okay, let's put all of the CEOs in one group. Let's put all the HR people into one group. And actually, I have one of my employment attorneys who really uses the working list to do reach out and to do those touch points. She has her HR contacts, she has her CFOs, and she, periodically every few weeks will send them. She'll pull up the list and go down her list and start sending notes to everybody. Did you see this article that I read? What about this issue that might be relevant to your business? And I think that has really helped her to develop more strategic relationships and bring in more business. And that has all come about because we're using technology to our advantage. We also did sort of a Tech Tuesday. So it came out of our secretarial group. They created these Tech Tuesdays, and what I raised my hand and I said, let me plug into that and help you. And so we did several training sessions on how to use interaction so that our assistants could help our attorneys, and then also helping them with other things like Doodle, for example, or just other technology pieces. I think marketing can really provide a helpful addition to IT, maybe, because we're so in the technology day to day. So yeah, those are after joining the firm a year ago, we've had to really rethink our marketing and business development, and it's been a really interesting opportunity, especially having to do it during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting though, that, one of the things that we've heard across, all of our conversations with clients at events, it's not one size fits all, and it doesn't have to be this huge undertaking where you start everything from scratch and blow up everything, right? It's starting the foundation, even on those day-to-day things, like you said, the coaching, right? One-on-one coaching or the Tech Tuesdays, things that seem simple but really are starting to ingrain the foundational culture, which helps kind of push some of the larger scale initiatives that you probably want to focus on or push forward. So thank you so much, Sheenika. That was really insightful. I'm really glad that you're able to add your real life examples to some of our research and make it hopefully come to life for all of you. So that was our planned content, and now we want to pause and answer some questions. So as Lauren mentioned in the beginning, there is a questions panel on the right-hand side where you can ask your questions. So please, type them in and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Lauren, I'll turn it over to you. Are there any questions currently that we need to answer?
Yeah, so let's see. One came in. Will you comment on how small firms, many of us are too small to have marketing departments at all?
Sure. So, I mean, I'll give a little bit of an answer, and then Sheenika, I'll probably have you jump in. You're doing this for a living. A lot of what we talked about, may seem like it's only for the large firms, but it's not. Just because you don't have a marketing or business development team doesn't mean you're not doing marketing and business development. You're doing it yourself then. So a lot of it, I will still kind of go back to that test and learn. So try new things, adopt new technologies, adopt new tactics. You can do webinars, a platform like GoToWebinar or even through Zoom, are really easy to do and a great way to try to reach, reach new clients in a virtual way. Adopt new ways like social media, I talked about social networking, that you can do on your own on an individual basis to continue to build that connection through these times that we have. Sheenika, from your aspect in working in different law firms, what are some other strategies you can recommend?
Yeah, as a foundational approach, I think, and this sounds cliche, but I really would sit down with a plan. I think if you are an individual attorney, no marketing department, I think it's really important to know where you want to go. So even looking at, and I'm happy, through Meghan and through LexisNexis, I can send you an example of a business development plan. it's just 2 pages, and it's really just outlining who your target market is, who your current clients are, what industries do you want to hit, and do you like speaking, do you like article writing, do you, what are the things that you're interested in, and then you'll start to see a picture being painted, and you're able to then really focus your result, your efforts, and instead of feeling like you have to do so many things, you've really come to a place where, like, okay, I need to focus on these 2 or 3 goals this year. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it, and create really actionable goals. And that includes creating a list of people. And I think that's the hardest thing sometimes, I think, for when it comes to marketing and business development. It's, maybe easy to get on a webinar like this and just, talk, but then what are you going to do after, right? So being able to use the webinar registration list as a way to create up a prospect list, a targeting list, to really take one, let's reach out to a few people every day. If morning time's the right time, then, at 5 minutes every morning, who am I going to reach out today? Where am I going to make that touch point? So creating these like actionable goals for yourself is, I think, extremely important. And then having that list of people that you're going to reach out to every day, that I think is the most successful way to do business development when you don't have a lot of resources. It's really about those relationships, and then using technology to create more relationships.
Thank you. Lauren, next question.
Yeah, so let's see, the next one that came in. How has the role of the BD changed in this time?
Well, like I said, I'm gonna get a little bit of answer and then turn over to Sheenika. As I said in the beginning, the one thing that we've seen change significantly with COVID and the economic downturn that I think a lot of firms are experiencing is the almost exacerbated and expanded importance of business development, where I think a lot of marketing and business development teams within law firms may have previously said they had an uphill battle maybe of getting attorneys on board. They're seeing a lot more reliance on them, and they're seeing the attorneys be really open to new ideas and to try new things. So the role of what I would say that the biggest change I've seen is that the role has become a lot more important and a lot more central to what firms are really doing during this time. Sheenika, anything to add or anything you disagree with in my answer?
What's really interesting about business development right now is that it's become so human. I think COVID, as terrible as it is, has really sort of leveled this playing field where we're in each other's homes now, right? And so we've created this opportunity to be human with our clients, and I think that really helps in business development, because it's all about those relationships and getting to know your client and your prospects. And I think for our attorneys, I hear time and time again that they do these touch point calls just to ask their clients how they're doing, and that really results in a snowball of conversation that also has led to work several times. Even just setting up a monthly call to check in, what can I help you with now, what are the issues that you're dealing with. I think business development has become a little bit easier because your ability to connect with people has become easier, and being able to talk to them because everyone is experiencing the same things. And so now you're really getting to the heart of things, and I think that's been really interesting and amazing to see.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that. Lauren, any other questions coming in?
So do you think that legal directories and their activities around COVID are a successful business and marketing tool?
Sheenika, I will let you take this one.
I love that question. So I think that the legal directories are a great way to develop a personal brand. So I think we continue to do them this year, and actually I think we did more of them because we had several attorneys this year who just had a really great year. They had great deals closed, and we knew that those were big enough, important enough to get recognition for them. So we made some strategic decisions about which attorneys we would submit nominations for, and we've gotten some great results this year. So I think in general, whether it's COVID or not, I think legal directories and filling out those submission forms, they can be a pain, but I think it's really important to do them for developing your brand and to be known as the expert in that particular area. So we have continued them this year. I think they have been successful in terms of brand awareness. I wouldn't say that they necessarily, like all marketing activities, they all sort of, the culmination of them really helps you to bring in business, but I wouldn't say just because you won an award, that's going to bring you a client. It could. I think it really just depends on the situation, but I do think that they're important, especially because of the ability to build an attorney's brand and their expertise in a certain area.
Makes sense. All right, next question, Lauren.
So what technology solutions and platforms do you recommend? Any sort of dashboard you use, especially if they are tied to a technology platform?
Good question.
Yeah, so Sheenika, I'll let you kind of start with this one, and I'll add anything afterwards.
Yeah, I did mention that we use Interaction, so that's a CRM tool that we have. We also use, we have an email marketing platform that plugs into Interaction. So I think it's really important when you are evaluating technologies to pick ones that integrate with each other and able to then create those dashboards. We don't have dashboards right now. I think that's something that is extremely important, and then it's on my list of things to look into. We use Google Analytics for our website to see where traffic is going, so that our website provider has some dashboards set up for us in the back end of our website that plug, the Google Analytics come into it, and so we can see it in a more helpful way. We also use solutions such as Airtable. It's basically an Excel sheet that's, or a hybrid between an Excel sheet and a database that is just very user friendly and allows us to track all of our projects, all of our activities, to see, where there could be gaps in things. So we have a few things that really help us to track some of our technologies.
Yeah, and I'll add on to what Sheenika said around when you're evaluating technologies and really thinking about what you're going to bring in, it is important to look at it holistically to ensure that what you're bringing in integrates with each other and will allow you to pull the insights out of it that you want. Because when you think about dashboards, right, they should sit on top of multiple different technology solutions versus just having an individual dashboard for each one. So really think about, especially when you think about dashboards, think about like a Power BI or Tableau, right, that can pull in data based on a data model, so that you could really sort of combine multiple different insights and insights from multiple different tools. But I think that is a really important point. Point solutions are really great, but you should really think about how you're going to bring them all together at the end. Start with the end in mind, is what you hear a lot of people say. All right, I think I see a couple more questions, Lauren. Is there any other ones we haven't answered?
So this one kind of piggybacks. It says, do you have any recommendations on how to target and organize the marketing strategy? Because we do most of the things you mentioned, but we don't have we are not good at measuring the real impact.
Yeah, and so I'll let Sheenika really talk about this, because I think that she brought up a lot of good things throughout the conversation, but measuring impact really comes down to the follow through versus the actual activities. So Sheenika, do you have kind of advice based on that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to really asking yourself why you're doing something. So I think oftentimes we want to measure impact by maybe the number of clients that come in. Obviously, revenue is important and why we do all of this, I think, but there are other, I would say, key performance metrics, KPIs, to really evaluating and measuring impact. I think if you're attempting brand awareness, for example, I think the way to look at measuring impact is to see how many eyeballs see certain things, how many clicks that you're receiving, how many opens and emails. If you're if you're speaking at a conference, how many people are registering, attending, how many people saw your logo. I think it's really important to first figure out why you're doing something. And if, for example, obviously, if you're trying to create new contacts, it's not going to happen by just speaking or writing. You have to be able to turn that into something meaningful. So being able to send an article to somebody and have a meaningful conversation with them about it, that's a way to show impact. Being able to take a registration list and sending up individual personalized follow-up emails, it takes time, but that's where you really see that's where you measure the impact to then create those relationships.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think that goes back to even what we were saying with the technology, start with the end in mind. What are you trying to achieve? And each individual activity and an overall marketing plan is going to have different measurements across even an individual activity. For example, when we look at an event or something like that, we look at how many of our existing clients are in attendance and what percentage of our revenue does that represent. We look at net new potential clients that we're getting, new contacts that we're getting. We look at just pure reach, which we were talking about, number of eyeballs, like pure reach, and a lot of that, there's multiple different levers that marketing pulls, and it's not always did we bring in a new client, because that could be the culmination of 10 different marketing activities to bring in that one client.
Right, exactly.
All right, any other last questions?
It looks like, nope, that's it. So that concludes today's webinar, and I just want to thank all of the attendees for taking time out of our busy day to join us. So to learn more about relevant interaction information, we encourage you to follow LexisNexis Legal LinkedIn by typing LexisNexis Legal in the LinkedIn search bar. Thank you all again for joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you, Sheenika. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.